Hi, today we'll be looking at using ImpulseSync to migrate different file types in a couple different ways. I'll be using Microsoft Teams, which uses OneDrive and SharePoint to store files, as our source. We'll be syncing 3 separate folders of files. Now if we take a look at those folders, we'll see that we're going to sync this Final Outlines folder, which has a couple of Word documents in it, this Presentations folder, which has some PowerPoint presentation files in it, and this WIP outlines folder, which has a couple more Word documents and a PNG as well. Now, we're going to be syncing these files to a contentful destination, and some of these files are going to sync over as just as a regular file or a media content in contentful. Or some of these files are going to be converted into a structured content, such as this voyage content type, which has 3 separate fields. Or this third structured content, which just shows that the binary is going to be converted into a text, which is going to be placed into this single text field. Now keep in mind, while this demonstration is using Teams as a source, the manipulation of files can be done for any source that picks up files. For example, SCP, GitHub, Contentful, and so on. Now if we look at ImpulseSync, we'll see that I have already set up 3 separate jobs, and each one is created for the separate folders that we want to sync. I'm going to go ahead and start running all 3 of these jobs, and while they run, I'm going to walk through the configuration for some of these jobs. Now if we start here at this first job, which it was just going to sync the files over as a regular media content, we can look at its configuration, and it's fairly simple, where we've just set up our source to pick up the files in the folder that we want, and we have our destination set up where we have the contentful destination set to sync over and check for other assets. Now if we look, we don't have any content manipulators or anything like that. And if we check our mapping, we'll even see that there is no mapping for this because we're just syncing over a file. Now if we take a little bit and we go ahead and look at the media for the destination, let's check if the content has synced over yet. And here we go. We can see that we have our 2 Word documents, outline 1 and 2, synced over, and our PNG here, which we can see is of the little Golang gopher, which is what we have in MS Teams as well. And that was for the work in progress outlines folder that we synced over. Now, the second job to look at is this job that'll sync the file as a structured content. And if we take a look at its configuration, what we'll see is our source now points to the Final Outlines folder, which has Word documents in it, such as this one, where what we're going to do is parse this Word document into a structured content. Now our destination is set up similarly to pick up that structured content and compare against. Now our manipulators is the important part of configuration for this job. And you'll see that we have a few different manipulators. The first one to look at is this file to text manipulator. And what this does is it takes the file from the source and it converts it into a text field. This way this text can be parsed and used by later manipulators run in the job. And that's exactly what we're doing here with our liquid field manipulators. If we look at this first one, we'll see that we're creating the booking code field using a liquid template, where this liquid template takes that new binary as text field that we created with our file to text manipulator, and it's getting a section of that text value. And it's going to take that section and set it as the field booking code. Now this section is taken between this value, booking code, and voyage name do not change. Similarly, our second liquid manipulator is taking that binary as text field, getting a section between voyage details and short description, and setting it as the field voyage details. And our third manipulator, it does something very similar. Instead, for the voyage name field, we're taking the binary as text value, and we're getting a section from here between these two values and setting it as the voyage name field. The mapping for this job is not too complicated. Here we're going to see that we're setting what the destination content type should be, voyage, and we have just a simple field mapping for the voyage name to voyage name. Now if we take a look at our destination, we'll be able to see the content that we just synced over, and we can look at one of these contents and we'll see all three fields are populated with values taken from our Word document that we actually parsed out using those liquid templates. Here we can see our voyage name, our booking code, and these voyage details. And if we look at our source document, we can all find that voyage name, the booking code, and the voyage details. Now taking a look at our final job, this PPTX job, we can see how ImpulseSync is able to take almost any binary file and convert it into a text field so that any binary file can be parsed out the same way that we parsed that Word document. We'll see here our source is pointed to the presentations folder, and our destination is set up for the file to text content type. We've only got one manipulator here, and that's the file to text manipulator. Here we can see that we're taking the file and we're converting it into a text field that's called binary as text. Very similar to our last job that we viewed. Now I don't have any additional manipulators set for this job. Instead, I want to just show how the PowerPoint presentation can be converted to a text field in the same way as the Word documents. So if we go ahead and take a look at our content, and we look at the file to text content, we can see we have these three different presentations. Now, if we take a look at one of these contents, and we compare it to what our source presentation is, we can see at our source presentation we have a couple slides with some different text on it. And at the destination in the content type, we see that the PowerPoint presentation was converted to a text field with all of the text on the presentation put into this text field instead. And you could use our manipulators and chain them after the one manipulator we had applied, so that way you can parse out these different slides based on any sort of value and set them to many different fields, as we did with the voyage content. Thanks for watching.